Hi, guys. Welcome to Creators Today. Today we have a special guest.
Christopher Mormando.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor and a privilege. Thank you.
Of course. So, the show's about creators, whether it's acting, film, writers, all of it,
Love it.
artistry. I saw your work and I was like, he would be perfect for the show. So tell me, a little bit of your childhood, like where are you from and what was your childhood like growing up? What was that like?
Okay, so growing up, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York.
Nice.
I grew up in a time where the neighborhood I grew up in was very Italian American. I'm
Ah,
Italian American.
nice.
I lived in a house with my grandparents, my mother, my father, my brother, and my grandparents. We all lived in the same house. Three floors, two floors with my grandparents. We lived all the way upstairs. And that was the basic in our neighborhood as we grew up. It was a lot of family that lived in the whole houses, and it was shared. And that's where I grew up in Brooklyn, New York.
Nice.
And it was, back in the day. I'm 51 years old.
All
So,
right.
so I'm born 1970. So growing up in Brooklyn was, say the least, you had to be tough to hang. There was no easy way out.
Right.
The guys I hung out with, and even the girls I hung out with, they were no nonsense. They were tough. Everybody had that toughness about them, but it was a great childhood growing up, and like any childhood, you go through ups and downs all through and through.
Yeah.
But it was that was the kind of neighborhood I grew up with very on our block was you had every household was some kind of family that were related to you or knew you, and you call them uncles or cousins or whatever the case. So safe to say, if you ever got out of line, you were getting cracked in the head every other house going down to back to your mother's house.
Right. Well, that's awesome. What a great childhood. I mean, did you like discover when you were a child or later on the love for acting?
Well, I always wanted to do it, and this is the biggest thing about where I come from as far as my attitude about don't ever let me hear the word can't. Don't ever let me hear negative words out of someone's mouth because I'll correct them. I will tell them, whoever, guy, girl, older, younger, doesn't matter. I'll correct their thought process because I was told you ain't never going to do that. Forget about it.
Mhm.
That was the downside, I would say, to my neighborhood I grew up with. It wasn't very comforting if you wanted to do something or branch out.
Right.
It wasn't. It was always the same thing. Yeah, you're out of your mind. Ain't never going to happen. You're not built for that.
Oh, wow.
And the truth is, you listened a lot to what people had to say, and you learned later
Yeah.
they were wrong.
Yeah.
They were wrong.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to do this my whole life, but I didn't get started, Meosha, until I went to jail for a bunch of years. I'll tell you straight off the bat.
Mhm.
I was in jail for a bunch. It was when I was in jail, I decided, I said, when I come home, that's it. I'm doing me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do what I've wanted to do. And I even had some people in my life that were like, come on, what do you mean you're gonna become an actor? You're going to go to school for it? I go, no, I don't go to school. I don't like school. I never liked school. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I ain't going to school. I'm typical, like, no, come on. And when I came home, I got a little taste of what it's like to be behind the camera. And then I had to get situated, get my daughters situated because I am a family man. I had an ex-wife and two children to take care of. So I got myself situated work-wise. And then when I got a little taste of the acting life, I said, I'm going full throttle. I'm going to really devote it. And it was a blessing because the New York Film Academy had said to me one day, I would love to do a scene with you. You write it, I'll film it.
That's awesome.
So I go, really? Okay. I wrote it. And some woman who was a casting director for a show on Netflix called Lilyhammer, and Steve Van Zandt is the star, and he was in The Sopranos, and he's Bruce Springsteen. And she said, I quote, who's the effing bald-headed guy? and I wanted hair my whole life. And I was founded by being the bald guy. And from there, the next thing I know, I'm in Norway filming. I'm on the carpet. I'm doing that. And Steve couldn't be more accommodating and more of a pleasure to work with and meet and to know and become a friend, because he said things to the camera crews, to the, I should say, the photographers and the reporters on the red carpet. And he had said so many compliments. And Meosha, from there, my personal relationships that got me into the next one, to the next one, to the next one. And when I landed the ABC for Life show with 50 Cent, that was one that put it over the top and got me to another level.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what a blessing, because I was able to make so many friendships. And the lead of the show, Nicholas Pinnock, whether I see him every week or I don't see him for a year, it doesn't matter. He's my brother for life. He has been, I always said it, we were meant to have met. There was a reason why I was on ABC for Life, not just because it was a great show, right? Because of the relationship, because he calls my daughters his nieces, and he comes from London, England. So Brooklyn, New York, London, England found themselves one day.
Right.
And that's a big blessing. And that, I can't say anything more. He is my brother for life. And that's literally what he wrote. And that's what I write when we talk. I go, remember, we met on the show for life, but we're brothers for life. I say it Italiano, we say La Familia. So, yeah, family for life.
Yeah, an amazing actor.
He is amazing.
Amazing person. I got to work with him one time for a project years ago.
He is great.
Incredible. I'm surprised. Like, I'm sure this show is gonna definitely open up more doors for him, because he's very, very, very nice. Very nice guy.
He is just genuine. And I was able to have lunch with him before he went back to London.
Yeah.
And I know he's traveling right now, but it was great because the day he was leaving that night, and we wound up going to, I went to the city to his apartment. We had a nice lunch, and we had a nice little farewell until we see each other again.
I love that.
Yeah, awesome. He is what he is. He's dynamite.
That's awesome. Question about acting. Was there any, like, when you got into it, was there anything that you were looking to do as far as like acting wise, or you were just open to all kind of roles or anything that would pop up?
That's a good question. No, the answer is no, not open to all roles, and I'll explain why. Because I never went to school for it. Right. I'm not I never ever put myself down. I'm not an educated person, so school was not my thing growing up. But it was also the basic surroundings of my neighborhood that I grew up with.
Right.
That wasn't school bound. We were just not school guys.
Right.
And we were more hanging out. We were more on the street. We were more, oriented of, we're not going to school. We're going to figure out what we're going to do. Call it right, wrong, whatever. But I paid my price for it. I wound up going to jail for it. And jail will never be, I feel bad for me. I did a crime, you pay and you go do your time. That's the way I feel. There ain't no getting out of it. I believe it. But I also say is I've even learned so much more. Learning from in there, that I have learned to have gotten so close with, when I say other nationalities, other people than what I was growing up around, that broadened my horizons. That opened my mind to actually write and film what I'm currently working on.
Nice.
That's called Chris Boy, because that's my nickname, Boy, and Judge No Book. And this has to do, I don't know if you caught, I dropped a couple of sneak peeks, and it has to do with a brotherhood formed while being in prison.
Wow.
And that brotherhood happened to be with Italian-American and African-American. And it had to do with the years in jail. And that's what I went through. I formed a brotherhood that I may have never realized could have ever been there because of maybe a culture and the way I was brought up, a neighborhood that I grew up in.
Gotcha.
And I speak it straight. And now, like when I was in jail, I have learned and opened up and said, like, you know what? No, you're my brother, you're my sister. It's not about a skin color. It's about the heart. And that's what my show is really going to be about. It's about judge no book. And it's such a beautiful thing because it brought me from where I started in my life to my current times now. And I'm so passionate about it. And I know that when it gets announced to where it's going and what networks and everything like that, it's going to be so rewarding because you can ask me the same question. If you're a doctor, ask me the same question, change it 50 ways over, you ain't never going to trip this guy up. That's the beautiful part because it comes from the heart. It's truth. And that had led me. So the long answer, when I was trying to be something that I'm not, I would not try and play Romeo and Juliet. I'm not going to try those roles. Not that I'm saying I can't. It's just not me. I'd rather stick to what I could do. A heavy duty cop, a coach, a guy on the street, a wise guy mobster. I could play those roles without ever having to really try. I'm very comfortable in them and it flows as a natural mode.
That's great. That's really good that you I mean, that's amazing that you learned that when you were like you had that relationship with this person while in jail. Would you say like you said due to like how, when culture differences where you grew up, do you think it still applies in the Hollywood world? Do you think that there's a lot of division still when it comes to certain roles being given, or do you think that even with women and men, do you think that there's more opportunities is Hollywood changing for the better?
Well, from what I've seen, from what I've been in and a part of, I think that it is what the role calls for.
Right.
And what I mean by that is that if I'm playing a role that is coming from like the show that I'm on, Gravesend, right now, that we're filming currently, this is a show that takes place in the 80s in Brooklyn, New York.
Mm-hmm.
So your roles are limited to who's going to get a role. Right. Because if you're not really playing the Italian role in this show, mm-hmm. it's not the easiest to open it up. Not saying there isn't other roles for it, but the majority is. It's a mob genre show that takes place in the 80s. It's an Italian-American type of genre.
Right.
So in that case, the answer is no. There wouldn't be many opportunities for certain actors, guys, girls, culture, race. It's all depends on what the roles are calling for. Right. Now, when you have a generality of a role where it could be either way, give you, for instance, my film, my show, when I write, there is really no preference other than the main 3 or 4. To me, it could be a guy or a girl. Doesn't matter. It's going to be who I feel captures the role the best and expresses their role the best. So give you, for instance, when I did my timeline teaser, I did a 30-minute timeline teaser. When I sat with my director doing it, he had said, well, is this a guy or a girl? I go, it doesn't matter to me. So that's speaking as straight as could be. It didn't matter to me because it was a 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th role, which I meant was if the main role is Chris Boy, it's me. If the main role happens to be a reporter, journalist,
right,
it didn't matter to me if it was, I wanted a female, but it didn't matter if she was white, black, Spanish, or Asian. It didn't matter. As long as that person brought it for the audition, mm-hmm. that's all I cared about. I had to believe and read how they were speaking it and how passionate they were on the role. And that's the ones that got the roles. So it all depends on, I think, when you have a certain, for life has to do with a male in prison.
Right.
So obviously it's very limited to females.
Right.
Because it was all male basically, other than his wife.
Right.
And the warden, which was Indira, which she was phenomenal. I don't think anybody could have played that part better. She was great. Yeah. And that's not kissing ass, because I don't kiss ass. I tell it like it is. It's either you're on the money or you're not. She was on the money. I mean, great. But you see, so the show gave a little diversity and gave a woman's spot to be the warden, which was perfect because it was all male dominated in that one.
Very true. Very true. I mean, yeah, I feel like there is change happening. As far as like the writers' room, there's a lot of diversity and a lot of women
Yes.
also in those rooms. And, you have the Handmaid's Tale, all women crew. I mean, I love men. I think it's great. I work with a lot of guys. It's wonderful. But, I just really I love seeing that change that we're kind of moving
So do I.
towards a better direction for everyone, that everyone can feel like represented.
I
And because
agree.
I think that's what it is. It's like, do you feel like, I feel like that's what most actors want to do, is like they want to see themselves, you know,
Absolutely. And
and
it's also a big thing when someone when I see the other side, meaning on the creative side, see, so I'm creating, but I'm also doing the lead, but I'm a creator of the show.
Mhm.
So when I'm creating, I could sit here any day of the week and say, no, it's really no preference. If I have a male role for the boss of a cleaning service in the show, and he has a secretary, well, either I go girl, girl, guy, girl. But in this case, I make a guy so vulgar in this one. So the girl, it plays the two road. So you have such a bad, but you have such a good, and it complements with each other, because he's like the yelling and the screaming, and she's like, oh, please. She plays a role that is so perfect. And it's like when he wants to yell and scream as the boss,
Yeah.
and he wants to curse, she stands up and be like, okay, get back in your office and shut up now. And I love that, because it's like, just keep the wine inside, get out of here. And it shows. But when it comes to certain other roles, there's no real preference. It's about, let's see how female will do this. Let's see how male will do this.
Right.
Because in
Absolutely.
certain ones, there's nothing to figure out. It's whoever brings it the best.
Yeah. I like that. That's good. I like that. Well, I'm excited to see your project. It's
Yes,
exciting.
me too. It's
Congratulations.
exciting. Thank you.
Um, um, I'm sure that's a process, right? Going from acting to like making a project, and that's another job in itself.
So you see these walls that you're seeing in my office?
Yeah.
I want to put my head sometimes through every wall, okay? Because I just put together the entire pitch docs, and you put together every
Wow.
episode.
Yeah.
And there's times I'm like banging my head, going, oh. I should just be the acting side, but I love creating this, because this is about something that I've always wanted and always believed in. And in our family, in my family, see, let's just take the Italian, I'm going to use this because this is what the show is built on.
Yeah.
Let's use, I speak for me, the Italian Americans in my family. A lot of families in the neighborhood I grew up always believed, oh, no, no. And I'm going to like actually mimic, oh, no, Italians got to stay with Italians. And a lot of the majority of the neighborhood felt that way. I don't feel that way. My grandfather, this is how my grandfather taught us. My grandfather was very old school. And in our house, every Sunday dinner, my grandfather would say like this, and was almost a very rare thing. Anybody comes in this household and ever says a bad word, a racial slang, Grandpa puts his foot right up your ass. This is my grandfather. Now, the reason why he would say it, when he would sit down his grandchildren, he would tell his grandchildren very true things. And he would say just like this. Grandpa went, and my grandfather went to jail for a lot of years.
Oh,
Grandpa
wow.
went to jail for 9 years.
Oh, wow.
He goes, you know who ratted Grandpa out? An Italian. My uncle, his son, was killed by his best friend, an Italian. So I want you to understand where this show comes from. We do not, in my family, ever say, oh, if you're Italian, then you must be the best thing in the world. No, it's not. It's about here. It's very big. It's where the heart is. And that's what I was taught from a youngin. Now I have a lot of friends at Italian. There's nothing to say one thing bad about. It's just that I don't do that role of nobody else could be in my family. That's not true. That's the opposite.
Right.
And it's about where your heart lies, because I don't care if you're white, brown, green, orange. It does not matter to me. It's about where your heart lies.
Right.
And if your heart is right in my life, you're welcome to my home any day of the week. But if your heart is not, I don't care. You're not welcome.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's a big thing about where the heart is. And that's why I'm so passionate about this show that I'm doing, because it does show there is no old ways. There is no old habits or thoughts, thinking errors. And that's why I'm a big thing on thinking on your ways of thinking errors. And when people are saying to me, no, I don't think I could do this, I go, you have no idea what you're saying. It's a thinking error. I'm going to change that thought.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you realize you can do it. You can change. You can go this way. And I'm getting on my Instagram, Meosha, and as you have witnessed and you're seeing now, a lot of people are asking, where does this energy come from? And how are you always so high energied? Because I believe in one life. This is the one life. I'm going to live this life without as little as regret as I can.
Love that.
And to say, I'm taking my shot. If it doesn't work, it didn't mean I failed.
Absolutely.
It just means that wasn't for me.
Yep. Yeah. I absolutely agree with that. I love that. That's
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about that. Very passionate.
That's wonderful. What were some of, like, I guess some of your inspirations? Or do you still? Who are some of your inspirations as far as like acting or anything entertainment wise?
Hands down, the Will Smith. Well, there is motivational speakers that knock me. Eric Thomas, when he says pain is temporary, it'll last for a minute or an hour or a day or even a year, but eventually it will subside. And something else will take its place. If I quit, however, it'll last forever. That's one I listen to on the regular. Okay. So Eric Thomas, DMX is another huge, huge inspiration. Lord, Give Me a Sign is probably one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, that was good.
And when he opens up that with, in the name of Jesus, no weapon formed against me shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against me, judgment thou shalt condemn. That's what I say every morning as my morning prayer. I've said it before he ever came out with that song. I have always said it. So these are inspirations. When I hear music, when I hear lyrics, I don't know if there's any bigger Tupac fan than me. I'm going to say it like this. I'm going to be very confident with that. I am such a Pac fan forever and ever. His lyrics will always keep me right in line because he speaks actually things that I have never known, but I've learned from listening. And Will Smith is another big inspiration. Will Smith, when he gave that speech about don't ever let anybody ever tell you your goals or your dreams
are not valid. Yeah.
Oh,
love that scene.
I'll give him the biggest hug for that. And I've never met him in my life. It doesn't matter. I know him. I'm connected to him.
Yeah.
That inspired me so much. That there has inspired me so much. And, you know, like when you look at films, I'm a big movie buff. So there's so many films and the lines in the films that get me to another level, from movies that have taken place in the 50s and the 60s to the current date now. And like I said, I'm a big, big fan of words.
Yeah.
Words. A comedy, Along Came Polly, Ben Stiller.
Yeah,
Okay?
I love that one. Good one.
Okay. Do you remember when Seymour Hoffman is playing the role, and he comes out and he says, I'm not going on with these amateurs. And the father, Ben Stiller in the film's father says, he goes, you did all of this, but you never, he goes, about enjoying the ride. And he had said, and I'm drawing a quick blank right now, he had said, he goes, you know, you thought you were better than everybody else. He goes, there's no sense of going through all this nonsense if you're not going to enjoy the ride. And he goes, and just when you think that, he goes, just when you don't know, oh, no, I'm sorry. He says, it doesn't matter what happened in the past or what you think might take place in the future. It's about the ride. That's the words.
Yeah.
And those words are another thing. That's a comedy movie. But those lines meant a lot to me. It doesn't matter what happened in your past or what you think will take place in the future. It's about now.
That's it.
And even what I said to one of the, either yesterday or the day before on the Instagram, I said, and I'm enjoying my ride. Because that is so important for anyone when you're on a set. Do you know, I've told people, why are you getting mad that we're running 4 hours late?
Yeah.
Do you know that I smile when they say we're running late? That means I'm going to stay here because you don't know if you're coming back here.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a lesson to learn. And sometimes people go, you're right. And then sometimes they're going to roll their eyes and they're going to shake their head like, you know, he's an idiot. But that's all right. I've been called worse.
I love it.
Enjoy that ride. That is so important. You get on that set, hope you go into overtime and penalty. Don't even pay me. Just let me stay there.
Yeah. 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 It's we get to do some amazing things in our life. We have an awesome life to get to do what we love to do.
Amen. Absolutely.
Definitely a blessing for sure. So
oh, without a doubt.
Totally agree with you on that.
Without a doubt. It's a huge blessing.
Do you like I know that due to COVID and all that we're in right now, and we're kind of getting out, like we're getting better slowly but surely. Things are coming out. We're things are opening up. Things are feels like somewhat normalcy, but the policy is also still on set with COVID. How does that feel? Did that take some getting used to and adjusting to this new kind of way of living with COVID now?
You know what it did? It took away the camaraderie, and it took away that, as I say, you know, on a lot of the sets, they call me La Familia because I always yell, La Familia. And everybody screams. Even Nicholas will go, when he calls me, he's like, La Familia. And I love it because it's like, you see, I got that chill, that energy boost right now. When I said it and people have repeated it, it's so funny because they joke and they'll call me La Familia. And I'm always about the family. But when you're like on ABC or NBC, you're keeping the distance because you have to, and you have to be safe. So it's always safety first. I'm also a stunt guy in a lot of things too. So it's always safety first.
Right.
But it took away some of the warmth. You know, if you and I are brother and sister and we've shared a whole season together and we've gotten so close, now we go to the season 2 and we have to keep 6 feet away, and it's no one's fault. It's protocol. We understand that.
Right.
But you're now a little hesitant to get a little too close. Maybe you are afraid. Maybe I'm afraid, you know, so you can't blame anyone, but it just took away that part. But I think that now it's starting to get a little warmer, a little closer. Yeah. Everybody's starting to mend in. The more we start kicking ass on this COVID, the more we start getting more of that closeness back on set. And as long as there's testing going on like we do, I'm testing Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. So, you know, you're getting the swab, you're getting the spit. It's all, you know, they're wrangling it up with your nose, and you know, and I got a big schnozzle, so I would say, go easy. I don't want it to be bigger. But that's what it's starting to come around. So I think little by little, and I just filmed in Miami for a month on the show Gravesend, and that was what a set. You know, everybody was as cautious as could be and as warm as could be. They did it both. We had an amazing cast and crew from A to Z, Z to A. Everyone was cautious to the point of making sure everybody was tested. The nursing, the doctors on the sets were perfect. Awesome. You walked in, come on, you got to do your test, make sure everybody's good. And it was a blessing because then you get to have, all right, we can sit down, everybody could relax a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was great. It really was great. And I look forward to filming the next 5 episodes in Brooklyn because now we're going to be filming for like July, August, September, and then we're going to go back to Miami.
All right.
And wrap up everything, the whole season 2.
All right. Congratulations. That sounds like a great year. A great year.
Amen. Yes. And I play a character named Gaetano. And the joke is Gaetano, I'm not wearing it now, Gaetano with the pinky ring.
I love it. I'm excited to see it. That's exciting.
Yes. Yeah, I'm excited too.
what's your process as far as like when you're getting a role or something that comes to you? What, like, how do you what's your acting process? What do you do? How do you break down a character? Like, what do you like to do, if you don't
So
mind?
I love to read as much as they'll give you, because you're not going to always get everything unless you are, in this case, I'm a main character. So I'll get the entire script to read.
Right.
What I love to do is read the entire script and dissect it from first page to last, because I want to learn everyone's character, or how I feel everyone's character is from how I take from the reading.
Right.
When I do that, then I try to absorb the process. Here is a great tip. People have asked me, this is what I do. In this room, and I'm going to show you. Ready?
Yeah.
You get up, and I'm going to show you, but it's a little, wait, ready?
Yeah.
This is my process. You're doing a roll. You got to jump up and down on one foot and recite every single word.
Love it.
When you could do that and do hopscotch like this, when you can do that, then you know your words. So now when the director turns around and says, oh, Chris, I don't want you to sit in the chair and do your role. I decided today I want you to lay on the floor. I decided I want you to be on a handstand and do your role. I decided I want you to run and do your role.
Right.
You will never have to worry.
Right.
Because you've already practiced jumping up and down on the most uncomfortable mode.
Right.
But you memorized every single line that you'll never have to worry about words. You'll only have to worry about pause, posture, prop, what you used at the point across. When you could just look away, you could sit here looking away, and I could be doing my lines by I'm talking to you, but I'm looking at the wall. You don't always have to look direct.
Right.
And if you prepare, I'm a huge fan of preparation. And here's my coach, Jimmy Johnson, Dallas Cowboys head coach in the 90s, who won 2 Super Bowls. He gives his speeches to the University of Miami, and he says to the players, prepare. There is no bigger coward than the person that didn't prepare or train for the job and the purpose they've come to do.
Right.
When you don't prepare, it's like cowardly. It's like you just thought so little of everybody else. Because if I'm doing a role with you, I better be prepared. I better know my lines, because it's going to make our scene that much better. Right. And if you're preparing to the nines, why am I not?
Right.
And it's a big thing about preparation. I speak of it. I have 4 to 5 people that I don't coach, because I'm not a coach to acting. I'm not going to go there. But people have asked, and I've always told them, make sure you prepare. If you're with a casting crew and that casting crew goes to dinner, guess what? Don't go to dinner. Stay in your room and read over and over till you get the best possible way to do that scene in your lines.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm a big firm believer of that.
I absolutely agree, because you can never like over prepare. I think it's amazing to be prepared, because like I said, you don't want to get there and like, oh, and then you're the one that's looking, and everyone else is like, really? Yeah. So absolutely.
Agree. 100%.
1,000%. Yeah. I have a fun question. I know we're talking pretty serious questions, but something to lighten up the mood a little bit.
Let's go there, Rich.
If there was a biopic based on your life, who would play you?
Oof, okay. If there was a biopic and someone was playing me. Okay, you know who I'm a big fan of? I'm a big fan of, and he played in a show called Boardwalk Empire.
Yes.
Okay. The one who played Al Capone, Stephen Graham.
Nice.
That's who could play Chris Boy.
I love it.
Other than Chris Boy playing Chris Boy, that's who could play Chris Boy.
I love it. That's a
I
great.
am a huge fan of him. I love him in Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah.
I thought he played probably one of the better Al Capones in a long time.
Yeah.
His attitude, his character, and he's from London, England himself. I never knew that. Never knew that. And they're across the board. His style to me is top of the line.
Yeah.
He would be the one that I would say, if I'm not going to play me, he's going to play. I want him to play me.
I love it. That's a great answer. Great answer.
Thank you. Yeah, he is one of my favorites.
That's awesome. Last question. Well,
Okay.
more like two more questions, but this last one.
No, but listen, I love what we're doing right now.
If the so I know there's a lot of actors, a lot of people out there that follow you and even listeners that are listening on the show. What advice could you give to that person that wants to try to start or wants to get into acting? What advice would you give?
Okay. A lot of people asked also, the best advice I could give is, if this is truly what you want, if this is truly a passion for you, something you've always wanted to do, go for it. How do you go for it? Get yourself into the smallest first acting 101. Now, I never went for an acting class, but that doesn't mean I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to tell you that if you truly want to do this, you're going to have to get in some kind of a little circuit first. So go to some kind of an acting school, some kind of an auditioning class, something to say to somebody, hey, I'm here. You're in the business. I'm in the business. This person just walked in and said, hey, I'm here. I want to be in the business. Well, we're going to find out sooner than later, because it's going to show in how you act, and not just act as far as a job goes, how you act in general. If you truly love it, I have said this to certain friends, it's not a business for everyone. Mm-hmm. This is not for everyone. And it doesn't mean you can't do it. It means when somebody gives me, give you for instance, I'm going to show you by thing. Somebody gives me a script to read, right?
Right.
This is what I do. I get it today. Tonight, I don't stop until I read it 3-4 times tonight.
Right.
Okay, that's because I want to do this more than anything I've ever wanted to do.
Right.
So when I'm given something, I am nonstop on it. I don't give you an excuse. Oh, I would love to, but my baby girl, Chloe, my doggy, she had to go for a walk. Okay, go walk her. It's okay. You're not walking her for 5 hours. You're going to walk her. You're going to play with her. You're going to rub her around. You're going to throw her around a little bit, joke with her, and then you're going to go to work. Because there is no such thing as 9 to 5 in this business.
Right.
This business is 24/7, and you need to ask yourself, am I willing to do it? Yep. Sports, anything in sports. Okay, I use that example because I played sports my whole life. No professional, no semi-pro, but I played sports. When I played sports, I was the smaller guy. I was small, I'm 5'8", but I played with a heart like this. I played with nonstop thought process.
Right.
Because I wanted to be 110% go for it.
Right.
The same way in this business. So you want to be in this business? Anybody ask that question? Just say to yourself, am I willing to do what it takes? Am I willing to put 110% in 24/7? Because there's no such thing as, oh, I got the leading role in the newest, hottest show or film. It don't really work that way. It's, when I got founded, I call it, I got blessed, then I got lucky. Blessed first, lucky second. Because the Lord always looks out, but it's blessed first. And I've always said that. That's my regimen. I say blessed and luck, then lucky, not and. Blessed, then lucky. Mm-hmm. So then from there, I built relationships, but any role that I've gotten, to the littlest of littles to the bigs, I have trained and I have studied the same way. Right. I don't care if it's one line. I try 50 different ways. My wife is the best wife ever because I just make her hear me say the same lines over and over and over. And she's like, and she's the best fan. She's like, hey, that was great. And I'm like, okay, but which one was better? And then sometimes I just got to roll with it.
Right.
And then I have my youngest daughter, who's now 21,
nice.
Who is my acting coach.
Nice.
So these are the things, but non-stop.
Yeah.
You have to dedicate 24/7. And if you have a job in the day, it's okay. But you get a lunch break, right? You get a 15-minute breaks. Well, if I was on a lunch break or 15-minute breaks, I'm reading my script again.
Right.
And I'm reading my lines. So that's what I would do and how I do it.
I love it.
So anyone that wants to enter this business, God bless you. You can do it. There's enough room for everyone to make it.
Yes.
There is.
Yes.
There's so much room, but you also have to say, this is what I truly want, so I'm going to put in the work.
Right.
You have to say that. It's a fair thing to say if you're going to work with other people that are putting in
the work,
all their hard work.
You're
it's
right.
fair. It's a fair thing.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And that's that misnomer of like a lot of people would just, I've met a lot of people that like, I'm going to do something, and then it just never happens. And you're just like, so that definitely separates people that are just talking and versus doing. So doing is a different thing. So absolutely, you're 1000% correct on that.
Thank you.
Is there anything that you would like to share with the listeners? Anything that you have coming out? Anything?
Well, you are great, and I'm so proud to be a part of this.
Thank you.
To be asked is an honor. I loved it. When you had, reached out, I was like, of course. I was so flattered to be asked. So I'm just letting you know that. And that is, like I said, I'm all about heart. So from the eyes to the heart to the mind, it's all connected. So when you reached out, I said, oh my God, this is beautiful. I said, couldn't wait. And for the listeners, to the viewers, keep listening and viewing, because this is great. The show is great. The whole vibe is second to none. It's a great vibe. I got chills right now, and that's the energy flows. We know that. That's energy flowing. So when I get those energy flow, I get them in my right arm, as I'm doing right now, and it's flowing heavy. So that's a great vibe and connection right now, and I love it.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's
you.
Wonderful. Where can people find you and follow you?
Okay, so I'm in my Instagram, I'm on the Chris_Mormando, Mormando, and I try to give as much what I'm doing and what I'm going for on my feed and my stories and all of that. I'm a constant worker to show what's going on. And with the shows that I'm on, I give a lot of behind the scenes, which a lot of people are loving, because sometimes, like me, before I ever got on a set, I was always like, I would love to know what a set looks like. And I work on a lot of big sets, ABC, NBC, CBS. So I'm in those studios. So when people are getting behind the scenes, they are like, oh my God, I never knew that existed. Yeah, you think you're outside, but you're really inside. It's a warehouse, but it's inside,
Right.
So if the viewers, if you found this interesting, follow me. I would love it. It would be an honor and a privilege and a total pleasure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for coming on. It was a pleasure and a wonderful talking to you.
This was great. And I hope we could do it again. You just let me know when.
Definitely. Well, thank you guys for listening, and always remember to live, love, laugh. Bye, guys.
Amen. Amen. Ciao. Ciao. Mwah.